Just a quick heads up. This episode discusses ideas and themes that may trigger thoughts of trying to be the best you can be. Listener discretion is advised.
Let's do this.
Okay, let's do it.
All right, let's do it. Let's do it.
Yeah, let's do it. I'm pumped.
Yeah, let's do it, Mick.
All right, let's do this.
All right, let's do this.
Let's do this.
Let's do it.
Let's do this.
Now let's do this.
Let's do it.
Welcome to the Coaching Life Podcast. I'm Pat Martin. I'm here with my good friend, Coach Chris Stewart. Coach, how you doing, man?
Doing well.
Back together again?
Back together again. Yes, you weren't with us last week on the Jimmy Burrow episode.
Yeah, we were all remote.
Yep. I was in here by myself.
I wonder, Coach, if...
Jimmy actually thought about coming over,
Oh, he did?
but he was doing so many of them.
Yeah.
Yeah, he said that he had podcasts and radio shows pretty much all week long.
Yeah, yeah.
And so he was just sitting up there in his house for a little bit.
I don't blame him for that.
Yeah, I don't blame him for it either.
I was thinking as I was walking up today, if I would have came to campus last week, if I would have seen as many Bengals coats and hats that I am now. Seemed like there's a lot of people jumping on the bandwagon, Coach, and you know, as a Browns fan, to me,
It's the biggest bandwagon team of any team in the NFL over the last how many years? Have you read that?
the Bengals are.
Yes.
You mean currently?
Well, I mean, yeah, I don't know. It's probably a very subjective study, right?
Yeah.
But I remember reading a brief article on that last week. And it may have also been because people don't hate the Kansas City Chiefs, and Patrick Mahomes is actually a good guy.
Yeah.
But it was because no one wants to see or hear
His brother.
Patrick's brother or girlfriend ever
Yeah,
again.
that's
So
right.
like our hero is going to be Joe Burrow, the only one who can keep us from having to see them all Super Bowl, 2 weeks of the Super Bowl
I
prep.
think my son was telling me that Patrick's girlfriend was spraying beer or spraying champagne all
when
over,
when they beat Buffalo in overtime.
and then was complaining because people were upset about it.
Yeah, neither one of those two have very much sense, I don't think.
Patrick just kind of hides his
I
face.
didn't even know who Jackson Mahomes was until my daughter showed me a video, and I just rolled my eyes.
Now, he's a social media. He's an influencer, right?
I don't know what he's influencing. He can't
Well,
dance.
Careful. That's the problem.
How is a Kardashian famous? Besides the fact that they had an attorney that had a famous attorney for a father who tried one of the most famous trials in the history.
I don't think we want to get into this conversation on the Coaching Life Podcast.
No, we certainly don't. That's not what we're about. But I think I got a suspicion that a good majority of our masculine audience probably would agree with us. Our male audience would probably agree with, yeah, we don't get it either with the Kardashians or Jackson Mahomes.
Yeah, I don't even know what Jackson looks like. So
He's taller than Patrick.
Really?
Yeah, he's taller than Patrick.
Yeah,
they both
interesting.
have the same walk.
Yeah. Well, that's
They're brothers.
yeah, right.
Yeah.
I can see that.
It's
with
anyway.
Jeremiah, so.
No more Mahomes. No more Mahomes.
But yeah,
Yeah, Patrick was running around a little bit like a chicken with his head cut off ever since the last play of the first half, wasn't he? Last
Yeah.
week.
Yep. Things
That
changed.
was a game changer.
I was on the ledge, ready to jump as a Cleveland Browns fan. I didn't see any
I could
way
read
possible.
some of the text that you were sending me, though. You had more confidence than any Bengals fan of how it was going to come out. You didn't even think it was going to go to overtime. You said, this kicker's going to miss this here after that sack.
I
What was that, a
did.
15-yard sack?
That's right.
or so?
I did
Yeah.
say that.
Yeah.
I remember. Yeah. After after they came back, it was, to me, it's just, there's just some things in life that are hard to beat.
And Joe Burrow was one of them.
And Jay Burrow is one of them. And I just think that they're riding a momentum right now that the odds are in their favor. And Good
Yeah.
luck to the Rams.
It is how it
I
happens.
don't think the Rams have a shot, to be honest with you. I really don't. I really don't.
Well, that's. I'm sure all of the Cincinnati fans that are listening are happy to hear you say that.
Yeah.
But don't take anything we say for. We have no idea. Even though we did have the father of Joe Burrow on and Super Bowl. Now Super Bowl Joe Burrow. That's right. Last week. I think for teams, the idea of momentum, carrying momentum into a postseason and just riding it out to a championship, I think that I mean, you talk about teams getting hot and things like that. It certainly happens. But I think they've got something a little different than team momentum.
I do too.
And they have someone who truly understands what it means to be a champion. I mean, how he thinks like a champion. He thinks like a winner. There is something in him that is just not like the majority of other athletes in the world. Mm-hmm. There are few that have it, and it's a really fascinating thing. We just keep saying it over and over again. It's a fascinating thing to watch. That's unreal.
You know what? When we were going to argue about something a couple weeks ago, you remember what it was?
Handshaking? Well, that didn't go very well.
Yeah, I won that hands down.
Okay, yeah.
What was the poll results?
75% say yes.
That handshaking is necessary.
I think the word necessary was probably, if I hadn't put the word necessary in the poll, it would have been 100%. Because I had one person text me and say, I don't know that it's necessary, but it should be done, is the way he said. So I'm like, well, what's your answer? He goes, well, I didn't vote, so I'm right down the middle. You know who you are. The listener, you know who you are. So, but
Well,
I shoved him over to the yes side for that answer because he's like, yeah, it should be done.
So you're saying 100%.
No, someone did say that they agreed with you.
Well, I mean,
25% of people said they agreed with you.
Normally the people that are right are not in the majority, so that's kind of makes me comfortable.
Well,
but
that's kind of a theme of something I want to talk about today.
we were going to argue.
What was the other
We're going
argument?
to argue about karma.
Oh, goodness
And
gracious, that's right.
I said, remember karma. And I think there's a definition and an origin of the word karma, and there's this idea that that some religions use to talk about karma. When I think about karma, I think about doing the right thing consistently, knowing that eventually it's going to pay off for you.
Sure.
That's not really karma.
Because you're in control of that.
Yeah.
The idea behind karma is that it's superstitious.
Yeah, right.
And superstition is bunk. I'm a baseball guy.
Wow.
But I am not in any way, in shape, or form superstitious. I'm a little stitious.
So you changed,
as Michael Scott says.
You actually
on
washed
The Office.
your underwear from one wind to the next?
Absolutely.
Jeez.
Yeah.
I have to keep
Wear
that.
different socks, different pair of pants.
I've never done anything superstitious.
It has nothing to do with any way you play, any way you coach, any outcome of the game. And as soon as you start thinking that it does, then you're giving up control. You're giving up some of your control to this farce of there's something out there that's going to make us play better because I didn't wash my uniform last night.
Right. And I think that's the general idea of what karma is.
Yeah.
I think if people that watched me play baseball when I was in high school would talk to you, they would tell you I was superstitious because I had a routine.
Routines. I was waiting for that word. I was getting ready to say it, but I didn't want to cut you off. Routines.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, I would do things on deck and warming up in the outfield that they would see and be like, why do you do that? And those different things. And I did it to get myself ready, to get, to get prepared. But doing the same thing over and over again, knowing that it's going to pay off one way or another, that's not karma. I think when I think of that, I think the reward of that is karma. When I said I was going to root for the Bengals, what I was saying is I would like to think that if I root for the Bengals, that other people will root for the Browns in that case. But
sure, I've already told you I'd root for the Browns.
Yeah, you root for everyone.
I
Coach.
do. I root for 31 teams. No, 30 teams. No,
Who are the
29 teams.
Eagles. Everyone but
The Giants, the Eagles,
and the Washington football team.
No, they're the Commodores or something like that, aren't they? Or Commanders.
What?
They're going to become the Commanders, the
Really?
Washington Commanders. Yes.
I didn't hear this.
I think that's been leaked.
I
Yeah,
didn't know
that's
that.
almost as bad as the Comrades or the what is the Guardians?
Oh,
The
gosh.
Cleveland Guardians. Yes.
And
How are the Chiefs, by the way, allowed to keep their name and not only keep their name, but 102,000 people in the stands doing the chop? Oh,
The Braves do that too.
And the Braves do. I don't understand the inconsistency there.
I'm sure there's people complaining.
I mean, I
about
get
somewhere.
it. When you really pause and think about the word Redskins.
Yeah,
I mean, you
definitely.
wouldn't want to have. I never really even thought about it. It was the football team to me. But if you say, hey, the Blackskins, right, that feels a little different too.
Yeah, definitely.
Right? I mean, so
Right.
I do get that. I do get that, I guess. But Indians, though, is that on the same? Is that
The Indians changed their name because the decision to name them the Indians was rooted in
Gotcha.
racist history.
I did not know the history behind that.
Yeah, it's a story, and
And
yeah,
Chief
it's-
Wahoo came out of that too.
you know, they may actually be separate. I don't really. The
Yeah.
reason I don't is because they ended them at different times, and the argument has been different at different times. But
Yeah.
the story's out there because I had that argument a long time too. I ran into an individual on Twitter.
Yeah, because you're an actual Indians fan, so I'm sure.
Yeah.
Or Cleveland fan,
Yeah,
whatever they are. Guardians.
I can't get behind the Guardians
Yeah.
mostly because of that stupid
Well,
logo.
the logo
they
is
have.
awful. Yeah.
But
I
yeah.
mean, props to the third grader that submitted it and won the logo design contest.
You actually just insulted third graders because I'm pretty confident that Meg's third grade
could design something a lot better.
could
than
design
that.
something
Yes,
better,
yes.
and but at any rate, yeah. I think that's what Joe brings to the Bengals, and I think that's why I'm so confident that it's not I told you destiny awaits, like this is meant to be. I don't believe that's not why I'm saying I think
Well,
they're
we
going to
use
win.
words like magic. He's got a magic about him that
But it's really
It's not.
There's nothing magic. It's just that he's doing the right things. He's saying the right things. He's behaving in the right way, and he's instilled that in an organization that are now all doing it and all believe it, and they're all moving in the same direction. Their momentum is in their process, is in their actions.
Yes.
And that's why I think they're going to be so difficult to beat, and I think that kind of segues us into what you're talking about with being a champion. I
Yeah.
think that speaks a lot. What does it mean to be a champion?
Well, I told you this morning that I started reading a new book. I actually have, I do this, and that ends up becoming difficult because I'm bouncing back and forth between them. I've got 3 different books right now that I'm trying to read, and the reason why I'm trying to read all 3 of them is because I started to read each of them, and they were really good. So instead of saying, okay, I'm going to read this one first, and then this one second, and that one third, I'm just picking this one up sometimes. I'm picking this one up sometimes, and they all have very similar themes. So one of them is a book that I started this past summer, which is the follow-up to Tim Grover's Relentless book, which is called Winning. And I never have finished that book, so I'm about 2/3 of the way done with it. I started reading it at the beach, and by the time we came back home, I got involved in other things. I never did finish it, so I wanted to finish it. So I'm finishing that one, and then I'm also reading a book by Brian Cain that I did not. It was weird. I didn't even know that it actually existed. One of the speakers at the Ohio High School Baseball Coaches Association conference, Steve Dinteman, he used to be the head coach at Sinclair Community College. They've shut down their sports programs, and so he's now at Northern Kentucky University, part of the Norse. He gave a quote from Champions Tell All, which is a Brian Cain book, and it's really a compilation of thoughts from about 20 different athletes, and they write about what they think, what's going through their mind in the heat of competition. And then Brian Cain makes a few notes on it. So Champions Tell All, it's called Inexpensive Experience. And basically what inexpensive experience is, the way Brian Cain defines that, is there is expensive experience and then there's inexpensive experience. Expensive experience is the experience that you have to obtain on your own. And so either you got to wait for it to happen or you got to make it happen. And, you know, you can only have the experiences that you have, right? Well, inexpensive experience is learning through others' experiences. And we can all do that.
Absolutely.
There is no limit to what you can learn from somebody else's experience. And so that's what he did. He picked the brains of more than 20 different successful athletes in a multiple variety of sports. And so that's called Champions Tell All. The third one that I've begun reading, actually, I was triggered to read this book. Triggered, that's a weird word, but I was sparked on to read this book by listening to a summary of it on an app that I started using called Optimize.me. Man, we're just a wealth of resources here today.
Just spit it out.
Write this stuff down. Optimize.me, M-E. If you just go to that app on any of your Android, your iPhone, whatever it is, or you can just go to it on the computer. There's an online version as well as an app version. What you can do is there are thousands of books on topics related to the kinds of things that you and I talk about a lot: mental toughness, mental strength, mindset, leadership, things like this. And you could search by subject, or if you have a particular book that you're looking for, like Relentless is in there. If you're not a reader, but you want to kind of hear or read a summary of it, like here's a printout of the summary from that book that I'm about to tell you about. But they have PDF printouts that you can just read a summary. So what this guy has done, his name is, I should give his name because he's genius. Brian Johnson is his name. It's called Philosopher's Notes. And he also does a little recording. And every single one of them are between 20 and 25 minutes, where he summarizes the entire book and gives you like the main points that really stuck out to him.
Oh,
and
interesting.
It's awesome because I have listened to now I just a couple weeks ago I found this. I was from Brian Cain's session. I was writing down all kinds of resources and I went to that one. I'm like, man, this is good stuff. And I've listened to probably 12 different summaries of books, and then you can favorite them, so you can put them into your, like if you click the little heart, it's like on TikTok, it saves them for you.
Right.
You can favorite them, and you can go back, and this is one of the ones that I favorited, and I'm now reading this book. It's called How Champions Think. And I'm a big champion guy. I want to. This is being a champion and thinking like a champion, behaving like a champion is something that has sort of been a theme of mine. And it's not because I've won a lot of championships. It's because I want to, though.
Yeah. Well,
and I want to build champions as well.
That accomplishment doesn't make you a champion.
Right.
You're a champion before you get to that accomplishment, right? That's a reward that you get. Yeah. But it's not, you can be a champion. You may never win a championship. And that's a
really great word.
That's part of the challenge that we face as competitors.
That is very, very true.
There's nothing guaranteed.
Right. Right. Yeah, you can be a champion by making sure that everything along the process of is being done like a champion, even though the outcome may not take you to that place.
And you lay your head down at night on that process.
Yes, you do.
Not on the result.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's sort of the theme of this book. The author is Dr. Bob Rotella, and Dr. Bob Rotella is actually a world-renowned sports psychologist. He has worked with just a whole list of professional, Olympic, NCAA athletes, people who have won championships, people who have won gold medals, multiple gold medals, people who have been at the top of their game in golf, tennis, wrestling, boxing, I mean, just everything, basketball, baseball, football. And he just studies them. He studies their minds. He studies what they think. And he gives you a summary of some of the ways these people think. And so, I guess we should back up and I should say, I don't know. I would assume that if people like actually still listen to our podcast, which we gained a lot of listeners last week, by the way. So if you're a new listener because of the Jimmy Burrow episode, hopefully you'll stay with us. We're really glad that you listened to the Jimmy Burrow episode. But this is a really big This is a really big priority I think, for both of us as coaches, but also as people, as husbands, as fathers as well. And I think I would challenge our listeners with a question that goes like this. Do you think like a champion? And it's really easy. I should have paused longer there. I'll edit a longer pause in. But because it's, but actually, no, I shouldn't have paused very long, because what happens is we answer that really quickly. I think a lot of people would say, I think I do, or sometimes, or whatever. But then the question you got to follow up with is, well, do you understand what makes a champion? Like, what is, do you understand how, and one of the best ways to find out if you really do is to just learn how people who are just at the top of everything that they do, how they think, what they do, what are some of the, what are some commonalities between them? And that's really what he's done, is he's put together a summary of what he calls exceptionalism. There are people in this world and in the world of sports. I mean, granted, it revolves a lot around the world of sports, but he also makes principles apply to business as well.
Absolutely, because and here's the thing, 98% of us that play sports, that compete in sports, that's not our profession.
Right.
But that demeanor, that mentality carries over.
It influences our profession without a doubt.
And not just our profession, but every part of our life.
Oh, I can tell you right now, I believe that this is the reason why Ohio University wants us to do things like coach, extracurricular type activity, right?
Yeah.
Like our college wants us to do. Our dean is a junior high basketball coach.
Yeah,
of our college.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. Because I can tell you, my side gig role as a coach really helps me here.
Yeah.
Because a lot of what I'm trying to get better at, and a lot of the things that I'm trying to do, the ways that I'm trying to better myself personally, my first thought is, well, it's because I want to win.
Yeah.
I am a coach, and I want to teach these kids how to win, and I want to win. And if I'm doing that over here in this smaller aspect of life, then I'm probably doing it at home as well. I'm probably doing it in my work as well. Not all the time, not consistently, right? But I want to.
You want to, and honestly, you need to be great at it. You need to,
yeah,
because you have to practice it in every walk. Otherwise, you won't be the best.
Yeah,
and
you can't compartmentalize it at all.
Right. That's why we talk about being the best person that you can be. Because if you're not trying to be the best person you can be, it's difficult to be the best athlete that you can be. It all kind of works within each other.
Champion Thinking 101.
Here we go.
Here it is. He uses an example from Coach Bear Bryant. And he talks about, he said he's learned a lot over the years of studying these exceptional people. He's learned a lot about exceptionalism. And I would say, last week when we were talking to Coach Burrow, we said, Joe has an unstoppable factor to him. Tim Grover uses that word, relentless, how to be unstoppable. And there's an exceptionality to people. And I'll just read you a quote here from the book. He says, as Bear Bryant once said, when was the last time you saw a jackass win the Kentucky Derby?
Fair point.
Yeah, but he said there are many people with physical talent, just as there are many people with raw intelligence. And I would venture that most people are talented in something, whether we realize it or not. What sets the merely talented people apart from the exceptional people can't be measured by a vertical leap, a time for a 40-yard dash, a length of a drive off the tee, or even your IQ. It's something internal. It's a way of thinking. Great performers, exceptional people have a way of thinking, a set of attitudes and attributes like optimism and confidence and persistence and resilience that just they go to a different place. You mentioned last week, actually, when we were talking to Coach Burrow, the Tim Grover's idea of the dark side. And to define what dark side is, we all have it, I think. We all have the opportunity. Because what it is it's something internal. Like we all have something that defines who we are. That is a character trait that's inside of each one of us. That's a positive character trait. That's a positive attribute that we do well. And the people who become exceptional know how to harness that and explode with it.
Yeah, and unsuccessful people suppress it. Jordan Peterson talks about that a little bit. He says, "A good man's not valuable." Or what's he say? A good man. I'm goofing the quote up. It's
See if I can find it.
Do you know what quote I'm talking about?
Yeah, I'm
A good man that is dangerous is valuable, but that good man is just able to, like you said, harness that danger.
Yeah.
I can't exactly remember how he said it.
A harmless man is not a good man. A good man is a very dangerous man who has that under voluntary control.
Yeah.
So a harmless man
Yes,
is not a good man.
Yeah.
A good man is a very dangerous man who has that under voluntary control.
Right.
That's a great illustration of the dark side.
It is.
It's a great analogy of the dark side of what it means to have that.
Yeah, and you know what I see, and I actually had a conversation with a teacher, a high school teacher, about this several weeks ago. One of the things I think I see people do coming out of high school specifically is, they have these ambitions, they have aspirations about doing things with their lives, and they come across some challenges or some difficulties, and they're not where they want to be.
Yeah.
And it derails them. Mm-hmm. They don't know how to handle it. You know what I mean? It's like they think because they didn't succeed in a way that they envisioned, that they failed and it's over and they have nothing left to do but to accept, the situation that they're in and just continue to go with it and to be, kind of it makes them complacent a little bit.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things I think you got to keep going and understand that that's something that you have control over.
Yeah.
It's not something that you have to accept or get used to. There's still a next move.
You know what comes to mind when I think of the dark side? Superheroes.
Yeah.
Because it's not a negative thing. Like a dark side sounds like it's an evil thing or a negative thing or a bad thing. But the dark side of Clark Kent was Superman.
True. That's true. You're right. You're right.
The dark side of Peter Parker is Spider-Man.
Right.
Right. And we love those type of superheroes because we can't wait for them. We know who they are. But usually it's just you, like Clark Kent in real life is the only one who really knows this is who I really am.
Right.
This is what I got inside me. Now I have to harness that and only use it when I know it
think
needs
how
to come
dangerous Superman could
out.
be.
Unharnessed.
Unharnessed, right?
Yeah, they've
Yes.
tried to do some movies like that, haven't they? Some spin-offs or whatever.
Yeah, I think so.
Like a black
Well,
Superman.
Spider-Man is Venom.
Black suit Superman or Venom.
Venom's
Spider-Man.
Spider-Man.
Yeah.
He was an alien.
Yeah. But all of these superheroes have a common theme. There's something within you that actually makes you unique,
Yeah.
that makes you who you are. And so I guess, if you're wondering, well, do I have a dark side? Just ask yourself this. Do I have the right stuff in me that I can harness to take action when I know something needs to be done to be successful, right? And really what that is, it's when it comes. Here's when it comes out, when people say that it can't. When the naysayers, when there's naysayers that say you're foolish to think that you can do this, right? You harness everything within you and say, this is what I got,
And that's why there's exceptional people, and we've mentioned this, multiple times. That's why they seem like outcasts a lot of times. That's why they seem, odd in their lifestyles and in the way that they think, because it is different.
Yeah.
Than what typically, or what the typical person thinks on a typical day. That's how I would say that.
That's exactly right. Because what does the typical person, I think, is realistic, right? I mean,
Yeah.
like, well, let's go back and use the Bengals and Joe Burrow as an example again, because it's just a prime example of what we're talking about. There's another author that he actually refers to in his book here, and I had it written down. I can't remember where it was. Actually, no, it's a quote. It's a quote that he said in a section titled "Create Your Own Reality," and he said this. He said, "Average people are realistic." That's why I had that in my mind. Average people are realistic. Exceptional people create their reality.
Yeah. Game was over at halftime.
That's what everybody's.
It was over.
And I was feeling it. I was like,
Chastity asked me,
this
she
doesn't look
said,
good.
is this it? And I said, it's a long way home.
I was thinking it until the last play of the first half.
I still thought. Well, and the reason why is because the Chiefs were moving the ball so well.
Yeah.
So here's the
Yeah.
thing. It's not just, in that case, it's not just, in that scenario, it's not just on Joe and, the offensive side. You got to count on the defensive side.
Yeah.
They're going to have to step up big time.
But there's this mindset, that what's that defense saying to each other when they're over there huddled together? Guys, if we just get a stop, we're putting the ball back in our guys' hands.
That's right.
That's what they're saying.
Yes.
And so it comes back to, again, this exceptional human being.
It does.
That creates this kind of mindset in people.
Yes.
And and here's the thing, guys, we can do that. I mean, maybe on the same level, obviously, not every football player is able to do it on the same level as Joe.
Yeah.
But we have it. And that's the thing is that exceptional person has a vision of great performance and what that looks like, and not just performance, but a great career, doing not just something great, but all kinds of great things, and they don't really care what anybody else says.
Yeah.
And we've seen that, right? We've seen he ignores information that says this is unrealistic. It was constantly coming at you saying this is unrealistic, and the exceptional person just says, you know what, I've got a vision and I'm going to make it reality. I think that's what Rotella means by saying exceptional people create their reality.
Yeah.
And when everybody else says it's not, you're foolish to think that you can do this, they just know, no, I am going to create it. Mm-hmm. It's not just going to happen. I'm going to create it, and then they get to work doing it. I mean, that's the big question. I mean, everybody's probably like, well, yeah, you say it sounds really easy to do that, but how do you actually create it, right? How do you create it? How do we get to work doing it?
Well, I think the hardest part about it is just what you said. It's easy to be realistic. It's easy to know that it's a long shot, right? It's easy to say that's going to be really difficult to do. Or it's easy to say it's not easy to do.
Right.
It's not supposed to be.
It's not easy to do. And I think that's where the big questions come in, like, well, these are great theories and great ideologies, but we are realistic people. So if we're really going to be exceptional, how can we really do it? And I got an example.
Okay.
And I think it can be this simple. If I want to clean out my garage, and my garage could use a nice clean, and after every winter, it gets a little cluttered and all that. You know what the fastest way to clean a garage is?
No, please let me know.
The fastest way to clean a garage is to start moving one box.
Yeah. Yeah.
So how do we? If you want to be exceptional and you want to make it if you want to create your own reality, how do you do it? Well, you start reading one page of a book, and then you become a reader. If you want to be a reader, just start reading one page of a book, and then call yourself a reader. You know what? I'm a reader.
Yeah.
You may not be the same kind of reader that some of these professors are walking around here, but by gosh, you're a reader because you just started reading one page of a book. Start doing one thing in the direction that you want to go. And then refer to yourself as, that's who I am. I'm a person that works out. I'm a person that doesn't eat this stuff. Or I'm a person that does do this. I'm a person. And as soon as you start thinking like that, then you're on the road to creating your own reality.
Right. Yeah, that's a good point. Small steps, small details, right? Low-hanging fruit, I guess you could say. That's another.
Yeah.
It's things that everyone wants to jump to that destination, wants to jump to that that realization that that we're talking about. But that's not the path, and that's why I think focusing on the process is so important about being who you want to be, getting where you want to go. Yeah. It's not about that end point. It's about the journey to that end point. And the thing is, as you go along that, your end point may even change. Your destination may even change. You may find out that that's not where you want to go, right? It's not what you want to be. There's something bigger. There's something different, something more important that you can do, and you find that out along the journey. But yeah, I agree with you. I think we overcomplicate the exceptional.
We do.
And exceptional is just doing small things really good on a consistent basis.
And you know what's funny, and I think this is part of the allure of Joe, is people, if you ever get around Joe, there's nothing complicated about him. He's a simple dude.
I don't know, that necklace isn't too simple.
Well, I guess when you got things thrown at you and saying, here, wear this, please. And you'll just, but he wants to do, I mean, actually, the jacket that he wore was a guy that went to Athens High School. It's a design, he's a fashion designer. Guy named Micah Saltzman. Zakiah Saltzman played with Joe. His younger brother, Micah, is a fashion designer, lives in New York, I believe.
Oh, but darn, I didn't know that. I didn't realize that.
Yeah, pretty cool. Yeah, I don't know how it came to be, but I saw. I think it may have actually been a post on one of Micah's social media saying that's pretty cool that Joe wore his jacket. So it's neat.
Interesting.
And that's the cool thing about. I mean, Joe's friends that he was friends with in high school are still around him a lot today.
Yeah.
He hasn't given up those relationships. That shows you how meaningful they were. But yeah, seriously, there's nothing complicated about him. He just does things. He does things. He goes the extra mile. I was talking with somebody last night about how a lot of quarterbacks can read a defense. A lot of quarterbacks can read and study film and know what this player is going to do when he's doing when that safety is doing this. I got an idea of where he's going to go and whatnot. And those are all very general things. And I think one of the things that seems to make I wonder if Joe doesn't just know the defense in a general way. He knows those players.
Yeah.
He knows who's injured and who's not. How's that guy feeling today? Who's he actually matched up with now? And I got a feeling that there's the difference between a preparation of Tom Brady, for example, for many years, and the preparation of other really good quarterbacks in the league.
Well, and I think it builds up over time. Why can Joe read a defense the way he can? Well, we talked about that with his dad.
Doing it as a 15-year-old with his dad, yeah.
Yeah, and he used to say, I have to go watch film with my dad.
Even though Jimmy said no, he never had to do that. Well, he was quick to tell us, I didn't make him do that stuff, guys. It wasn't like I was this ruthless father.
I believe that he didn't make him do it.
Oh yeah,
I do.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's the thing.
Did you sense any commonalities between Father Jimmy Burrow and Father Rick Dobnak?
Yeah.
A lot of similarities in the way they raised their children, wasn't there?
Yeah, definitely.
And it was kind of a hands-off approach of if he wants to wants to play this, I'll enjoy watching him play this.
And you know what it is? There's two things that stick out to me that were similar between Mr. Dobnak and Mr. Burrow. One, they both seemed very, very comfortable in the direction that their kids took in sports. That their kids took. They allowed them to guide the way. And then the second thing that stood out to me is the excitement that both of them had. Kind of like they were both fans of their sons. You know what I mean? That stood out big. And I wonder how many dads or how many moms that's lost on.
Yeah.
That's their number one fan,
Yeah.
They're, and I think that means something. I do.
The only way that your kid can be your number one, that you can be the number one fan of your child, is if the child is driving that desire to do what they want to do.
Yeah, and if that
Otherwise, you're not a fan. You're a coach or a
you're a driving force.
you're something else. Yeah, you're a dictator.
pulling them along
You're a
and-
dictator.
Yeah.
because a coach should be the same. This coach should also be a big fan of your players as well.
True.
But there is a difference. I just sensed. I noticed that last week when we were talking to Jimmy. I was reminded of when we talked to Rick Dobnak, Randy Dobnak's father, who's a pitcher for the Minnesota Twins. That it was like there's just a real sort of. I'm just enjoying.
Yeah.
Watch because Rick even said, well, we told him to try soccer, try, whatever it is he wants to play, then play it.
Right.
He wasn't pushing them to be on this travel team or that travel team, or it was just if he enjoys it, we'll go along the ride for the ride.
Yeah.
And they happen to become very, very, very successful millionaire athletes. And Rick's house was paid for this year by his son, which is a pretty cool thing to see. His son paid his deed, his mom and dad's deed.
I'm gonna go home today and ask Jake and Maya if they want to play some soccer this summer.
Just tell them I'm just your biggest fan, guys. My approach from here on out is completely hands off, and just remember that when you sign that big contract here. As
Just a
22-year-old.
fan.
That's right,
Just a fan.
Just a fan. Yeah. I've got a really nice quote here for you that I found. This is another Bob Rotella quote from How Champions Think. And I think this is really good for particularly people who have grown up in our area of the woods where you and I record from here in Southeast Ohio. Southeast Ohio has actually made pretty good news here.
We're on the map.
We're on the map. Rotella says this: I'm always telling people that I don't care what their families or their schools or their communities said or thought about them. I tell them, you get to decide. So what's the decision going to be? You get to write your life story. Will you be heroic or just someone trying to get by? Will you be the star or someone just sitting on the bench?
Yes.
And that's your story of your life.
Yeah.
You don't always get to choose whether or not you're going to be the one sitting on the bench or you're going to be the star of the game. There's a lot of factors that come into play there when you're talking about the context of sports or the team that you're playing on. So kids, don't hear it that way. We're talking about the grand scheme of things here.
Yeah.
Your life. How
Yeah.
champions think. Because that's the subtitle of this book, How Champions Think in Sports and in Life.
Yep.
I think I had a subtitle similar to that on my book, don't I?
On Building Champions.
On Building Champions? Yeah.
I can't remember the subtitle. You don't remember your subtitle?
I guess I'm playing to win and what really matters. Parents, players, and coaches, helping parents, players, and coaches
Know what really matters.
know what really matters, or do something about really matters. I don't know.
It's close.
I can't believe. I don't know.
I don't
That sounds really good, doesn't it? I can't remember the subtitle, but
I probably would never buy that book anyway. What do you think? I just want to go back to that challenge aspect that I mentioned before. And Joe and the Bengals are getting a lot of praise right now, but I guarantee there's something eating at Joe Burrow right now. You know what it is?
Wait.
What?
it's not done. He's not done yet.
He's definitely not done. He's not done. He didn't win the state championship in high school.
We know that still eats at him.
Yeah.
It's his second biggest regret.
Yeah.
Because his first biggest regret is what?
Not
According to his dad.
Not going to the Browns. Oh, what?
Not
No?
playing high school baseball.
All right. That's right. That's true.
Yeah, I'm going to keep saying that every episode.
But think about the challenges that Joe has had. I mean, he didn't get that that honor of being named being the state football champions. He had horrible injury last year when everything was down. The Bengals won 4 games last year.
The change in the directory of his life came off of not a horrible injury, but an injury to his thumb that caused him to lose a quarterback spot at Ohio State. People always forget.
Crap,
The media
forgot about that.
The
Good
media
point.
doesn't get that. How often do you read, he's a third-string quarterback at Ohio State? Well, he was never a
The
third
only
string
reason
quarterback.
the only reason that the decision came into play was because
he
his
was
thumb
a second
hurt.
string quarterback under JT Barrett.
Right.
And
was coming.
And then Joe got hurt. Joe's thumb, he could not hold the football in his hand.
Right.
And then when Barrett got hurt, well, the easy decision was to put the guy in the game that had the most reps and was the most healthy, Dwayne Haskins. Dwayne Haskins goes in the game. He has an awesome game. He has an awesome remainder of the season, right? Takes them to the championship game.
Yep. And it's real hard for Urban to make the right decision to put Joe back in.
Exactly. Yeah. So
That's a lot.
It's
yeah.
not. He was never a third string quarterback for Ohio State.
No, no.
It's one of the. It's fake news.
Silly, yeah. Did you see the tweet where Joe had direct messaged someone and asked them what camps? He did it as like a 17-year-old, maybe a junior or early in the senior year. What camps
Yeah, I didn't
he
see
should
that.
go to because he wasn't really getting any interest from anybody?
Yes. Right. That is true. Yeah.
This
I know what
story of Joe Burrow has so many challenges and defeats and heartache, and it's just, it has all these things that a lot of people experience and say, well, that does it, that ends it. You know what I mean?
That's
and just
true.
one after another, it's because of that mindset that you're talking about, Coach. Thinking like a champion. It doesn't end when things go bad. Right?
Yes.
And it doesn't end when things go good. That's why beating this. Hey, anyone remember when Joe said that it wasn't a big deal that the Bengals beat the Steelers twice this year? Remember that? Remember when everyone thought that was a little bit pompous? Remember they shouldn't have been talking so much? Wasn't such a big
How's
deal,
that
was
sound
it,
now?
folks? Exactly. Not such a big deal because they had bigger aspirations.
And that's the thing is, back then, he had that in his mind.
Yes.
He had this day,
I think,
this week in his mind. Nobody else.
I think he had this in his
Nobody
mind when he was throwing touchdowns in Pomeroy, Ohio, on the Meigs football field. I really did.
Yeah. And to not win that state championship in Ohio in high school creates an extra level of relentlessness for everything else. I mean, to have the best single season of any college quarterback in the history of the college football game, a perfect season
Yeah.
for all intents and purposes.
Yeah. Most prolific in history.
Yeah. And this turnaround may be one of the biggest turnarounds in NFL history.
For sure.
It's just absolutely phenomenal. And here's the thing: what's Tim Grover say? We talked about all the different things. Some of those things being failures, some of those things just being adverse situations that came to you that are out of your control. But he talks about failure, and he actually says there to the unstoppable mindset, to keep in the context of what we're talking about today, the exceptional person, the champion. There is no such thing as failure. Like, it's just not an option. And I know that sounds weird because, it's like saying, well, you're saying a champion doesn't even know what it means to fail, but everybody fails. Like Joe failed. There have been failures along the way. But here's the thing. Not in the same way. They don't know what it means to fail in the same way that most people think failure means.
Yeah.
Right? Like, yes, champions will fail. They'll have failures. But it's not failure, it's feedback.
It's that expensive experience, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the expensive experience.
Yeah.
And it's used. Failure is used.
Champions use it, right?
Yeah, and therefore it's like when we say embrace failure, we're not saying enjoy it, long for it, want it. But when it comes, it's used in a way that it never wins. Failure never wins, I guess is the best way to
That's a good way to put it.
describe
Yeah.
that.
It's good stuff.
Yeah. So that's how champions think. I mean, it's just, I've only read actually a few pages of the book so far. So
It's easy enough. I don't know why.
we give it a little summary of it, I guess. So. Definitely not easy, but it's attainable.
It is,
And I would
in every aspect of life, we're not just talking about sports here. Jobs, families, everything you are, everything you want to be a champion. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Well, and that's the question, right? Do you absolutely doesn't Grover say in his book Relentless, do you absolutely want to be the very best? The very best at what you do? Because that's sort of his litmus test for if he's going to train somebody.
Yeah,
I asked them this question: do you want to be the very best? Obviously, you don't want to be poor at it. You want to be average at it. But I'm not asking if you want to be good or even great at it. I'm not asking, do you want to be great? Do you want to be the very best? Mm-hmm. Then this is the way you're going to start thinking.
And then he said, you don't want to be that. Get out of here. We're done.
Yeah. Yeah, that's it. That was a quick interview, right? We're out. Yeah.
Or I think he mentions working with them and knowing that, they're not in it.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
I'm not going to work with you.
It's easy to see. That's exactly right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, he's turned people down.
Yeah.
There's another, actually, let me find this here before we start signing off. There's another quote from someone. So Grover was Kobe Bryant and Michael Jordan, Dwayne Wade, these guys all had multiple trainers. All these athletes have multiple trainers. They can afford them. But Grover was their physical trainer. Like he would actually do physical workouts with them, basketball workouts with them. But then of course he obviously contributed to their mindset. But they actually had a mental toughness coach who wrote a book called The Mindful Athlete, and his name was George Mumford. He was Michael Jordan and Kobe Bryant's mental toughness coach. And in The Mindful Athlete, and this is a quote that Rutella uses in How Champions Think book. George Mumford says, every high-performing mindful athlete knows that if you want to achieve something, there's a good chance that you can, no matter what, if, and this is a big if, you're willing to pay the price. Mm. And there's where we all get separated.
Yeah.
There's the sifter.
You're right.
Right there.
Yep.
You not only have to focus on your intention, but you also have to be willing to get up early in the morning and do the same thing thousands and thousands and thousands of times, and then another 1,000 times with intention.
Mm. Unleash. Got to be able to unleash, Coach. What do you think?
That was ironic.
What in the world?
Do you suppose that came out in the recording? Did you guys hear that bark? Nobody's going to answer it. You just said unleash. Do you see a dog out there anywhere? That had to be in the building.
Had to be.
Which means I've got to sign off here and go ask somebody why there's a dog in our building. Because we have service dogs that walk around the building, but they're not out of control like that dog. That dog sounded angry.
Yeah.
He was unleashed.
I guess so.
I hope not. I hope there's no unleashed dog running around in here. I just have all kinds of these little quotes. One of the chapters here of How Champions Think. And he says, I give my athletes a mantra, and that is this: train it and trust it. So it's like a 2-part process. And he said the first part is train it. And he says that average performers practice until they can get something right. So think about this in your practices, all right, and with your athletes. Average performers practice until they can get it right. Mm. Elite performers practice until they can't get it wrong.
Mm.
So train it.
I've heard that quote before.
Yeah. So when you train it, there's your mindset for training. And then once you've trained that way, then you can trust it. You just trust it. You go out and do it, and you get it done. So it's a training mindset and a trusting mindset. And it's easy. It's easy then to tell somebody, for example, to smile, to have fun when they're playing.
That's true.
Right?
Yeah.
The shoulders relax a little bit because you can trust your training.
That's why not everybody, I don't suppose. Some coaches will tell you, or people will tell you, the game should be easy.
Mm-hmm. And that's how it gets easy.
Yeah, through that practice, through that rigorous training, through the hard stuff, through the preparation.
Yeah.
Yep.
And you can trust it. So I'm looking forward to diving into this a little bit more. So
well, good deal.
Just a few.
Glad we could share it with everyone.
Yeah.
Hopefully
It's gonna be
took something away from it.
It's gonna be an exciting couple of weeks here in Southeast Ohio.
Yep, bullpens are starting next week or this weekend for the Marauders.
Oh, are they?
Yep.
Cool.
So we'll be good going on there.
Today's the day we're recording is February 1st. That marks this is the month that Ohio High School baseball officially begins practice February 21st is the
Yep,
first day of
I saw a post
mandatory
today. It said
practice.
20 days. Yeah.
Yep. 20 days. Because you don't count today. So it's 20 days from now.
Right. For sure.
Yeah, it's happening. January's behind us. It's a new month.
New season.
Yes. Oh, what's so awesome is that as soon as the Super Bowl's over every year, my brother always sends me a text. Baseball season. And so it's like I can't wait for this darn Super Bowl to come and get over with. Well, I'm soaking up these next couple of weeks. This is gonna be fun. In Athens, this is gonna be a lot of fun.
Yeah. It's going to be a lot of fun.
You know who's doing really well right now?
Who's that?
The Athens County Food Bank, the hunger pantry that Joe's
Yeah.
always his big charity. What an awesome thing!
That's good.
What an awesome thing!
It's good stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. Not only are you a superstar, but you remember where you came from and you give back to it.
Champion.
Champion
Yeah. Every aspect.
in every way. Yeah. And probably going to be a Super Bowl champion here in a few days.
No, probably about it. After he wins 2, I'm done with him though.
You can be calling for his trade.
Yeah, man, the Bengals. I'm done. No more
Man, I'll
karma.
tell you what. You call Mike Brown a penny pincher,
Yeah.
you might see a transformation in who that guy is. He's going to have to pay him.
Lucas says Joe's changing Mike, and I denied that in our text because I'd never admit to him that he was right. I think he's right.
You saw a little different look on that guy's face when he held that AFC Championship trophy up, didn't you?
We'll see. Hang in there, Browns fans.